I'm Zac Sweets, and yes, this is Talk Raytown. Welcome back. I know you listened to all the episodes, but this is typically when I tell you to go back and listen to the other episodes and then get caught up and join us back here. But today, you see a lot of papers on my desk, and that's because we have a really important conversation. Some big changes happening with Raytown Quality Schools, and some families might already be in the mix, and some families might wonder what happens when my kid gets to high school. Well, I have the three people here that can tell us exactly what this looks like and why we're doing it. So joining Talk Raytown today for the first time, all three of them, and everyone's welcome back. We have Marc Hill and Lisa Oleski with the Forward Next Generation Learning. And we have a face you're probably already familiar with, Dr. Chris Greiner. So welcome to Talk Raytown. First question, do any of you drive Fords?
I do.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's good.
It's not a requirement of the position, but it's just a matter of personal preference.
I think it was worth asking, right? No, I didn't want to just jump into all the business. I appreciate you all being here. And like I said, just really interested in what's happening with the Academy. But first, Lisa, Marc, can you all tell us a little bit about how did you find yourself in Raytown, and how did you find yourself with the Forward Next Generation Learning?
Yeah, so thanks, Zac. Forward Next Generation Learning is a national nonprofit, and we work with school districts and their community partners to really kind of reimagine the school experience for students. A lot of us are familiar with the traditional high school experience. In fact, high schools in a lot of places haven't changed in decades, but we know that increasingly is not working for most of our students. They want to be engaged in their learning. They want to be hands-on. They want to have a purpose behind their education. They want assets and advantages that will prepare them for whatever's next after high school. And we want to prepare them for college, career, and life, not or those things, right? And so we help communities and school districts figure out what that looks like for them. And so credit to Raytown Quality Schools, because they have an innovative mindset, and we're willing to kind of step back and rethink how to best serve Raytown students, and we're happy to be partners alongside them in that journey.
Lisa, how long have you been with Forward Next Generation Learning, and really what drew you to be a part of this work nationwide?
Well, I actually began the work in my district in Centerline, Michigan. I was an educator for 30 years. The last 12 years of that time was spent as the assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction. And we also began asking ourselves the same question that Marc just was speaking about, like, what is the purpose of our educating youth, and how could we be better? So we began the journey with Forward Next Generation Learning in about 2013. And transitioning to an academy model, K-12. And I was part of that, saw the just the joy and the change in the overall students as well as the entire community. So when I retired from Centerline 2 years ago, I became a full-time coach for Forward Next Generation Learning. So I'm able to help communities across the country that have that same innovative mindset and commitment and courage to make the changes that are necessary.
Yeah, first off, congratulations on retiring and going and jumping immediately into a passion project. But I think that really speaks to the power of what we're talking about and rethinking. Dr. Greiner, how did you find yourself looking at this opportunity and thinking about the impacts on Raytown, and what was coming to mind most of all when you're thinking, I think we can do this. I think this works for Raytown?
Well, Zac, when we started developing our strategic plan back in 2022, we recognized pretty early on that our high school was a place where our students were being as successful as they could be. A lot of the data points were signaling whether it was attendance, discipline, graduation rate, dropout rate, academic performance, that we needed to do something to change the trajectory of student success in Raytown. So through our strategic planning, through conversations with our staff and our community, we recognized that we're going to need some help to make that possible. And so I had experience working with Ford Next Generation Learning in another community. And so I reached out to Ford Next Generation Learning, and they have a 5-phase process. And that first phase is really just exploration. So it began with a conversation between Ford Next Generation Learning and Raytown, and not just the Raytown School District, but the community of Raytown. And I think that's something that's really important that makes this partnership unique, is that this is a community-connected approach. And yes, we're interested in student success, but we're also interested in community prosperity. And so through those conversations with our strategic plan, but also working with business partners, we recognize that a partnership could really help benefit not only the students in Raytown, but also workforce development needs here locally. So we reached out to Ford Next Generation Learning. They came in district and spent some time with us, kind of dating the idea of what a transformation could look like. And from there, that was 3 years ago, we've very methodically moved through a process of exploration, planning, developing a master plan, visioning, and then now we're in an implementation phase. So for us, it's been a great experience working with Ford Next Generation Learning. And I will say we've been the benefit of the network of schools across the country that are working with Ford Next Generation Learning. That's been really important too. Not only do we have 2 very talented coaches that have worked with us, but we also have had the benefit of a network of schools and communities that look a lot like Raytown and are meeting the same challenges, both from a school district as well as workforce development needs across the country. So that's been a great fit for us, and we're very lucky to have that partnership.
I mean, I think the really incredible part of all of that is the dating the idea, right? The exploration. I would assume most people sees a name, a known name, and they just think, oh, they came in with a playbook and this is how you're supposed to do it. And so first off, can you tell me how big that network nationwide is? But really, what was the driving force behind that real community-focused, be with the people that approach to building not just the program in Raytown, but when you work with other districts as well?
Yeah, so Zach, there's over 40 communities and school districts across our network. We were even doing work in the United Kingdom for a while, which is very different, but learned a lot as well. So there is that network that communities can draw from to not only get best practice ideas, but also to help solve common challenges. And so that's really valuable part of the process.
And so we were talking about a lot of planning. I think we're now at the exciting stage, right? It's the first lap. The tires are still getting warm, but you are feeling confident about the race ahead. What have we seen from beginning of this school year to present in terms of the implementation? And what does that look like? Could you walk us through a student's journey as they went through this first year? And I understand there's some choices they have to make.
Yeah, so this year we had our first iteration of our freshman academy, which occurred at both of our high schools. So all of our freshmen experienced the freshman academy. Part of that experience was a freshman seminar course that they took during first semester, where they got to first learn what it means to be a successful high school student. So there was a lot of onboarding and conversations around what does it mean to be successful. You need to be there every day. You need to attend to your academics. You need to get involved in school with co-curricular and extracurricular activities. You need to be a good school citizen. So talking through and understanding what it means to be successful in high school also led them to begin thinking about, what am I passionate about? What am I good at? As I think about what's next for me beyond high school. And that conversation can really never start early enough, but through our freshman academy, students were really paying attention to and understanding not only what am I good at and what am I passionate about, but how does that connect to a high wage, high demand career here in Raytown, here in the KC Metro? Because part of the why for us as a school district is we want kids to be ready for what's next. We've developed a profile of a learner that really identifies the attributes or skills that we want our students leaving us with. We gathered that input from our local employers. They told us these are the things that our future employees need, the skills that they need. So we want to be intentional to develop those, not just in high school, but throughout their pre-K-12 experience. But in the Freshman Academy, while they're exploring their interests, they're also connecting it to high wage, high demand careers. Another part of that experience, in addition to Freshman Seminar, in the fall, they got to participate in a career expo fair where they visited over 40 local businesses that connected to pathways of high wage, high demand careers locally. So they got to kick the tires on careers in the area, understand what education those careers need, how much money will those people make in the career, what does a daily experience look like on the job. There was a very focused activity to help them explore. From that experience, then we moved into a guest speaker series where our students heard from local professionals here in Raytown and the KC Metro to really take a deeper dive into what those professions look like day to day. And then also, as we got into the spring, they had the opportunity to step on to college campuses around the KC Metro as freshmen.
I didn't go to a college campus until senior year.
Yeah. And we thought that was a really important experience because our kids need to see themselves as their future self.
Yeah.
And so we had opportunities to visit UMKC, UCM, Metropolitan Community College, their campuses around the KC Metro that have a variety of programs. So from all of those experiences, kids were then able to rank order out of 8 pathways. We have 2 academies, so the Academy of Health and Human Services and the Academy of Business, Innovation and Industry. Within each of those 2 academies, there are 4 pathways. And so they were able to select an academy and a pathway that blended their interests and passions, but also with the careers that they could see themselves in based on all the experiences from Freshman Academy. It was a huge success. I know there's been some video on social media circulating around the Academy Reveal Day for our freshmen.
I heard about this Academy Reveal Day. Is this like a Harry Potter? I get a hat and then it tells me, or how does that go?
Yeah, all of our students through their freshman seminar experience and in their advisory classes, they ranked. And then on that day, they got an envelope that actually had their name and the academy that they had been assigned to. The great part of all that was we saw over 95% of our freshmen get their first choice in the academy that they're going to then begin pursuing next year. So a lot of excitement around that academy reveal, which has helped us really buoy kind of spirits and plans into next year, as all of those students will now step into a career academy next year. But then next year's freshmen are also going to participate in their freshman academy. And we build that process up over the next several years so that the class of 2029, when they graduate as seniors, they'll be the first group to be part of a wall-to-wall career academy model.
That's fantastic. There's a lot going on there, and I want to come back to so many points, but if you could, we'll have the graphic up for everybody watching the pod. Can you walk us through the different pathways that they get to choose from when you say they choose an academy and a pathway?
Yeah, so 2 academies, Health and Human Services and Business, Industry and Innovation. Within each of those academies, so Health and Human Services, we have healthcare, human services, first responders, and environmental science. Those 4 paths are part of high wage, high demand careers in the area of health and human services. So kids will take an introduction course next year to one of those 4 pathways. On our Business, Innovation and Industry Academy, we have business and marketing. We have arts, entertainment, and design. We have manufacturing and industry trades and information technology. So those 8 pathways represent, as we've partnered with local workforce development agencies, where are the jobs now and where are the high wage, high demand jobs 5 to 10 years from now? And so that's really where we're guiding our students towards, because yes, we want them to be ready for what's next, but we want them to know that there is a career for them to stay here in Raytown or to stay in the local Kansas City area, to work, to live, and to raise a family.
So for the structures in the academy model for next generation learning are similar. But as Dr. Greiner said, these specific academies and the pathways are developed together with the community based on the local need. One of the reasons why we look at an academy model is because that it offers students the ability to be in a smaller group of students, and we partner teams of teachers that teach those students in each of those academies. So it's kind of a smaller school, small learning community, which then also gives us the ability to be intentional with the structures, those freshman seminar class, the freshman experiences. And then as they move into their career academy next year, there will be guaranteed experiences such as all 10th graders will go on an industry tour in their pathway. So the structures provide the opportunities for teachers to wrap around the students and also to collaborate in order to provide the relevant learning for the students in those pathways.
It sounds like the approach is it strengthens everybody all stakeholders of education, right? You have the students who have a stake in this. You have the community that have a stake in this. But also, you have the educators themselves, it sounds like, are being connected in a different way to be able to support each other, create a real, I don't want to say holistic, but a kind of a wraparound, like this is what we're doing and we're all kind of sharing notes on how what you're teaching relates to what I'm teaching so that the student gets a bigger view of the topic, of the subject. Marc, I want to get back to the students, but before that, when we look at the outcomes, it's exciting to me to read about the structure of the academy, or really the next generation learning. What have you all seen with some of the early communities, kind of the results and the way that it's impacted their communities?
Yeah, I can share. Lisa shared her background coming from a school district in Michigan. So my background is from the community partner side in Nashville, Tennessee. And we went to the academy model 20 years ago. And it was really to help our high schools be more successful. They hadn't changed in a long time, and too many students were falling through the cracks and didn't find that purpose. And so some of the common metrics that we see, and you're starting to see these results in Raytown, is that students are more engaged in their learning. They're coming to school more often. They're not getting into trouble. And not only that, as they move through their pathways, they're getting really valuable real-world learning experiences with employer partners across all those grades, not just when they're seniors, but also, from freshmen, sophomore, junior, and seniors, they're getting more intense and impactful experiences with employer partners to not only help them decide whether this is something I might want to do later on, but also they're building what we call transferable skills, professional skills. We used to call them soft skills, right? Communication, teamwork, creativity, problem solving, all those things that all of our employers want to see in new employees. Our students are practicing that in high school alongside employer partners as part of that process.
I mean, you hit exactly where I wanted to get back to with the students, the engagement. Everything, Dr. Greiner, that you were talking about in their freshman year, I just kept hearing that student engagement. They're not being told here's something to learn. They're being brought into, hey, here are areas where you can learn. What is, from kind of the traditional how we think of high school and learning, what is that? What do you think that shift will mean for our students in Raytown when we think about them getting a chance to see themselves as successful, not just high school students, like you said, see themselves in a career path or in college when maybe they might not have really thought much about it other than, oh yeah, you graduate high school, you go to college, and that's the formula. What is that shift in how you engage the students? What do you think that will do for the community and for the students?
I believe it's going to change the trajectory of our students thinking about what success in school looks like. For many of our students, and this is not unique to Raytown, success in school means reaching the finish line of a diploma at the end of high school. But when that race is finished and they walk across the stage and get their diploma, what's next? Many of our students don't have a good answer for that. For our students that are college bound or have that purpose and that drive and have known that all along, this is a process that's going to help them. But for a smaller percentage of our kids, it's probably not going to do much to change their trajectory. But as we look at the data within our own community, over 70% of our graduates tell us they don't know if they're attending any post-secondary training after high school. And an even larger percentage don't persist to graduate with a community college associate's degree or an undergraduate degree. What we found is that, and this is part of that workplace evolution, you don't need a 4-year degree to make a very good living doing something you're passionate about. So part of it's just an awareness for our students to understand really the purpose of this is we want them graduating with one of 4 outcomes. We want them enlisting in college or enrolling into a post-secondary program. We want them entering the workforce right out of high school. They might enlist in military service. And I'll just mention one of the things we're very excited about next year as part of this academy transformation is actually bringing the junior ROTC program into Raytown, which we've never had before. And so kids that have wanted to pursue military service through JROTC, they're not going to have that opportunity for the first time. So when I talk about being a first responder, we've baked in a JROTC program. So that's a new opportunity for our students. So we want them to enroll, we want them to be employed, we want them to enlist, or they might want to become an entrepreneur for themselves. And many of our students we're finding are doing a combination of those 3 things. They might go to school and on a part-time basis, they own a side business. And so we're trying to make sure our kids know what options exist for them and that it doesn't have to be the traditional 4-year college route, which I think is building an awareness for our students and seeing that they can be successful even if school is a challenge for them, because we're building the safety nets within this academy program so that our teachers are coming together to meet and problem solve and support kids, but we're also nudging them closer to the real world and giving them tons of experiences along the way so that they have confidence. So even if they get to the end of that degree or at the end of that 4-year experience and say, you know what, I thought I wanted to pursue a career as a police officer. I wanted to, go in that direction. But maybe at the end of that, they go, you know what, I'm going to pivot. But they've saved themselves the time and the money that may have taken them 2 or 3 years of college and debt and a delay to the workforce to figure that out. We're basically creating that time and space for students to figure that out while it's free. So there is value in pursuing that, being taken care of by a network of staff, but then also if they decide to pivot and move in another direction, it hasn't cost them anything. And they're even better prepared for what's next, even if what they've pursued in high school ultimately doesn't lead to where they go after high school.
Just a little in the weeds, because I think you said something really important. It is creating an academic safety net. Go try, figure something out, and we can adjust. What if I'm that student that says, you know what, I don't know if this is for me. If I'm, say, in my sophomore, maybe junior year, am I locked into my pathway, or can I pivot into a pathway that's still within my academy, or how does that work out? I think a parent who's really engaged might be really worried. What if my kid can't figure out what he wants for breakfast, let alone a pathway?
Yeah, completely understandable. And those are questions we've been having with our community. And again, very relatable question. So we do want to provide on-ramps and off-ramps for our students during their academy process. The challenge comes when they get to their junior year. Is there enough time on the clock for them to take the sequence of courses and experiences to be able to leave high school with the college credit or the credentialed experience? Because like in college, if you're pursuing a major, you don't just jump to the 401 class your freshman year. There is a sequence of courses that lead you to that capstone experience as a senior. And so while we do provide the opportunity for our students to make moves inside of the academies through the end of their sophomore year, by the time they're a junior, we really want to lock them in, even if they don't ultimately pursue that exact pathway in college or wherever they're headed. The experiences that they're getting are valuable. The professional skills that they're developing are critical, and that's going to serve them well regardless of wherever they end up. The other part is there's plenty of room in their schedule for electives, for what we call those global experiences that any student wants to pursue. And even if a student just says, hey, I want to go to college, but I'm not quite sure yet, all of our pathways have the opportunity to earn college credit. so that at the very minimum, they're setting themselves up for an accelerated path to college, even if they're maybe not quite sure what that exact pathway will be.
I think that's really great. What I think I'm hearing is it's not reinventing the wheel. We're just reorganizing how we're doing our work, which is educating the kids and getting them opportunities. Because I think that's one thing, as I was trying to sift through and see maybe what people's concerns or questions were, it was wait, is this rigid? Are they locked in? And what about electives? Electives are really important. PE, right? Still call it PE. Anyways, but so it's great to hear that the students have that support and those options. Let's pivot, Marc, to the community side, because that's a huge piece of this. You mentioned that's kind of where you came from and engaging with for next generation learning. Why community? And I know we've talked about it. I know it's a really simple question, but why community? Why is community even at the table? We talked about it being a stakeholder, but what does it have to offer, right? If I assume that it has anything.
Yeah, you alluded to it earlier. This is a community-connected process from the very beginning, from the explore stage, because we want our community partners to be thought partners in what this should look like, because they're going to bring experiences and expertise that we might not have in education. And also having that community ownership and buy-in on the front end will ensure that this is a long-term transformation and not just a passing fad. So that's critically important. I think employers, traditionally, there hasn't been a way to partner with K-12 education effectively, because high schools in particular have not been traditionally set up to partner effectively with employers. I mean, we can reflect on all of our high school experience. I don't remember any opportunities to do anything with employers in the outside world because the school wasn't set up that way. So part of this process is creating some new structures, a single staff point of contact at the school for employer partners, so that it's easier for employers to bring those student experiences that are so valuable to the table. And employers, it's in their best interest. I mean, the number one concern for most employers in a particular economy is, can I find the skilled and talented workers that I'm going to need now and in the future? And increasingly, employers realize that they can't just post a job position and expect lots of qualified applicants to be interviewed, right? You've got to start that talent pipeline much sooner. You've got to begin reaching out beyond post-secondary education and partner with K through 12 to even get on students' radar screens as far as what kind of industries and opportunities are available. And so if the school is able to put those structures in place to make it easy for employers to partner, they're willing to step up and do it because it's in their best interest to do that. It's actually everybody gets to win, right? The employer has a talent pipeline. Students have options and real assets when they leave high school and a myriad of opportunities to pursue. And the district's more successful as well. That leads to the community prosperity that Dr. Greiner talked about earlier.
Yeah, Lisa, from the community side and your experience, and then working with, the academic, the district side, but then working with Forward Next Generation Learning, I'm curious what you've seen that engagement between the students and the businesses been like, and do the students, are they a little shy at first, and then you get to see them kind of blossom into, as Dr. Greiner said, having a bit of confidence in what they're doing? Or what does that connection from student to community look like?
I think initially, we underestimate sometimes what students can do, and they just haven't been given the opportunity. And that's what's so powerful about this model, is because it's set up in a way that provides each and every student the opportunity. Not only I don't even like to use that word opportunity, each and every student the experience. And so you quickly see them step up to the plate and become ambassadors of the work and just flourish with their confidence and their abilities to be professional and to be right next to the community partners in the workplace.
Can you explain that choice of words? Why did you go from opportunity to experience? Yeah.
Because we've traditionally in schools, we've given opportunities to students, right? There's an announcement made, and would you like to take part in this opportunity to go out into an internship or, visit a community partner? And it was up to the students to have the initiative, and not even just the initiative, the competence to take part in that opportunity. This model is about all students deserve this, and we need to build the system that provides the experience for each and every student each and every year. And so we started with 9th grade. Next year, the 10th grade students will be given those guaranteed experiences, and that will just continue to be built out. And in Raytown, they're already looking at how do we build this out K through 12.
Dr. Greiner, I see why you called them. I mean, it's inspiring. It's really exciting to hear about these opportunities, to hear about these experiences for the students, and wanting to make this happen and finding a way, just trying to find a way. What has that process for the district been with the community? I'm sure it's Raytown. If you call out for help, folks will show up. But what has that? How has that process been? And really, what have you taken away from that process of working with the community to build these experiences for our students?
Yeah, we've been just blessed for the city of Raytown, the business community, the higher ed community, just our families, supportive of the conversations. They've been at the table with us as we've developed this over the last few years. I also want to shout out our Chamber of Commerce, the Raytown Chamber of Commerce and Tourism, Jeff Hurst, the president, and the board. They have signed on as a convening organization. So they see the value in this work as well. And so Jeff and his team have been great to work with as we've been planning and really thinking intentionally about how do our business partners in Raytown, how do they benefit from this partnership? But we couldn't do this work. We couldn't advance the experiences that our kids can have while they're in high school unless we have our business partners, our local community supporting us. And it's been a great partnership. We really appreciate the Chamber's support, and we're excited about what that's going to look like as we continue to expand this to another 400 or 500 kids next year, and then another 500 kids the year after that. And we really just start to turn that flywheel of success for our students. But at the center of this, it really is about Raytown's prosperity as a community. And we know that our young people that graduate from Raytown High School and Raytown South High School are a critical part of that continued success.
If I am a business, and let's say I'm a member of the chamber, and I call Jeff and I say, Jeff, I saw the episode, I was listening, I think this is fantastic. I want my business to be engaged. How can a community business be engaged in the work at the district?
So we do have opportunities to onboard new businesses. We've developed structures around that. So I know through this podcast, there'll be some information in the comments that'll allow a business, a community partner, anybody that's interested in contributing. And this could even be someone who is a retired professional and they're just looking to maybe connect with a group of students to be in a mentor role, share their experiences as a professional in a particular career field. Anyone that can hear the sound of my voice and wants to get involved, we can find a place for you. The beauty of this partnership with businesses is that there's a continuum of options that a business can jump in. It can be a very low lift for a business. It can be a one-time commitment. Maybe they come to a career fair and they're at a booth and they welcome students that come and have questions. Maybe it's to be a guest speaker, all the way to, hey, I want to host a teacher externship over the summer, or I want to host a student internship for a junior or senior student, and a lot of things in between there. So there's an opportunity to jump on. That information will be available, but really we just are interested in partnering with anyone that wants to see Raytown continue to prosper. And we believe that this partnership between the school district, local business, higher ed, our larger community is a key, again, to changing the trajectory of not just some of our kids, but every student in the school district. And I'd say that that's a key difference between the work around high schools is this is equity work, meaning we want to provide success and ensure success for every student, not just the kids that happen to follow up on the announcement that they hear about a college coming or a business, internship opportunity. Every kid deserves those experiences, and we want to make sure that they're ready for what's next when they leave us after their senior year.
I love that. This is equity work. I mean, it doesn't get more about the business, which is the kids, than when we approach it as equity work. We want everybody to have the same experiences. I'm gonna get it before the end of the episode, but no, I think that if there's any question about what Raytown is doing and what will this help, how will this help, we will point them to this episode. And you have a new person that is going to be willing to tell people, hey, I think there's another way we can do this. Have you heard about? And so pretty soon they'll be able to look to Raytown and see its first few cohorts come through. And I really appreciate you taking time to really talk about what's happening. And I thank you to the Raytown Quality Schools for hosting the Talk Raytown every episode. But we couldn't have a better place for this conversation. And if there's anything else, I want to make sure we plug something. Get your calendars out. I know it's a little bit ahead, but I understand one of those opportunities for businesses will be later this fall to get engaged and do a career fair. You said October 19th, correct?
Yes, October 19th at Raytown High School. If you click on that QR code and register, one opportunity to serve and partner with us is to just be someone at our career fair where freshman students can come through. These are just freshmen. They're coming through and they're just exploring what's possible. And then they begin to put those pieces together that leads them to a career academy in their sophomore year. But yeah, October 19th, Raytown High School. Also, if you're a business partner that just wants to come and engage in the conversation around our work, one of the structures we've established is a strategic steering committee that is combined with our Raytown chamber meetings. So on September 23rd, at the Raytown Education Conference Center, we'll be hosting a morning meeting with our strategic steering committee. So if you're a business partner that wants to know more, you have questions, join us for that. And then if you want to stay for the chamber meeting or for the lunchtime and network, it's a great opportunity to have two great conversations in one day. So we'd invite you to think about joining us on September 23rd for that.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate. I feel like we could sit here for at least another hour and just talk about the impacts and what will this mean in 10 years? I mean, and the students that we're going to see. I look forward to hearing the success stories when the students come back and tell other kids in the academy. But more than anything, I appreciate you taking the time. I know that there are a lot of interested folks in the community. Some folks that might have just heard about it, even though there's been a lot of work done. And there will be more conversations and more celebrating to do. I'm going to wait for my envelope. All right. I will wait for my envelope. Maybe it'll appear next episode. But thank you so much.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, you heard it. This is Talk Raytown. If you didn't know, now you know. Forward Next Generation Learning is here at the Raytown Quality Schools. And you might know a student benefiting from it. If you heard anything that you liked today, make sure that you go and find a way to be engaged. And if nothing else, click like, share, of course, because you like Talk Raytown. And until next time, I'm Zac Sweets.